Under the Speaker's announced policy of January 3rd, 2017, gentleman from Ohio, Mr. Ryan, is recognized for 60 minutes as the designee of the Minority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise today as the Congressman from the General Motors Lordstown plant. We have got some bad news this week that we're going to lose 1,600 jobs in Lordstown. When you factor in the supply chain, 4, 5, 6 times the amount of that in our community, the seat manufacturer, logistics company, trucking, and all the rest. Many communities in the last week have been dealt a pretty bad hand. And I think this speaks, Mr. Speaker, to the broken economic system that we have in the United States. When you have a company many years ago that gets a rescue package from the taxpayers in the United States, many years later, last year they got $157 million in a tax cut that we were told was going to be spent for workers and factories and jobs in the heartland, and turn around and cut 14,000 jobs, and their stock price goes up 6%. That is a broken economic system that we have in the United States of America. And we need an industrial policy in this country where the government, the agencies, the departments, the tax code, the investments in infrastructure and education are all moving in the same direction that will create manufacturing jobs here in the United States. And we have to have policies that move venture capital out of the 3 main states, California, New York, and Massachusetts, which is 80% of all venture capital. I'm not sure, Mr. Speaker, that the people on Wall Street or the people in the high-tech centers of our country fully appreciate what is happening in communities all over the United States of America. They're being hollowed out, disinvested in. And we need this government to begin to modernize itself, to look at the world as it is, to recognize that globalization may yield great benefits and great wealth, but that those benefits aren't shared everywhere in the United States of America. They're not shared in the industrial Midwest. Wages have been stagnant for 30 years. People work hard, play by the rules, and still get to their retirement and they lose their pension or their pension's cut in half. This is not working. This is not working, Mr. Speaker. And the American people are fed up. How much can the worker take? How much can their families take? Year in and year out. 40 years this has been going on in this country. And people who have money continue to make money. The top 1% continue to do well. And I don't hate anybody because they're rich. But my goodness gracious, when everyone else is suffering, when Ohio and Michigan, Indiana, Western Pennsylvania, Kentucky, Minnesota, these communities that have done so much for so long, whether there's a war or manufacturing, it's been these communities who have responded. And now they've been cut loose, and the stock price goes up. It is time for us to reclaim the American dream for these communities and these workers who have done nothing wrong. They've done everything right. They support their church. They support the Little League. They sit on the boards of the booster clubs. They coach football. They've done everything right. Everything our society would ask of them, they have done. And they get cut loose. And now we live in communities that have blight. They don't have broadband. They don't have investment. And some people will say, just cut taxes for the wealthiest people, and all that wealth will trickle right down to the Lordstowns and the Youngstowns and the Gary, Indianas of the world. You know what, Mr. Speaker? We've been trying this for 40 years. Since 1980, this supply-side economic policy has been pushed in this country. And if it's so damn good, why isn't it working for working-class people? That's what I want to know. If this economic philosophy is so great, why does the worker in Lordstown get screwed and the stock price for the company goes up 6%? Why does the CEO of these companies get 350 times the amount of money that the worker on the factory floor gets? Does that seem fair to anybody? These people work hard, play by the rules, can't get health care. People out working hard, pension gets squeezed, kid gets sick, can't afford it, got to go to the emergency room. Opiate epidemic. Try to work hard and go to college, end up $30,000 in debt, $40,000 in debt, have to move out of your own community. The systems are broken in the United States, Mr. Speaker. And it is our job here in Washington, D.C., to remember these families who have done everything right. That's our commitment. That's our responsibility, is to fix this broken system. There's been a lot of promises made over the last few years for these communities, and things are moving in the wrong direction, and it's our obligation to fix it. I yield back the balance of my time.
The gentleman yields. Speaker's policy of January 3rd, 2017. The chair recognizes the gentleman from Texas for 30 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Well, I was hoping we would be able to get more accomplished this week that would help the American workers